Happy Fantasy Friday. It's time for book club. We are Lindsey,
Kelly,
and Katharine, and this is the Banner and Bookmarks podcast. We are three book besties diving into romantasy with unhinged theories and a bit of spice.
Heads up, this podcast contains spoilers. If you haven't read the book, we will give you a spoiler-free introduction and review in the beginning, and then warn you once we switch over to the spoiler zone. After this episode, we will have 4 more episodes for this book. So please take a look at our socials for a schedule for those Fantasy Fridays.
So pour yourself a drink, come escape reality with us, and let's talk about books.
As Kelly said, this is our introduction to Direbound.
Oh.
It's so weird. We're talking about a new book.
No, I am so excited about this one.
While we will be giving away basic information with tiny itty bitty spoilers, we will not be giving away any major plot twists or anything that is not obvious if you read a summary. Kelly, can you read us the summary off the back of the book?
Yes, I can. Only the worthy survive. She'll risk everything to be one of them. When Meryn Cooper's sister is kidnapped by the enemy, Meryn enlists in the army, desperate to get across the border to save Selah from their immortal foes. But she doesn't realize there are bonding trials this year, meaning all soldiers are forced to risk their lives to connect with a direwolf, and Meryn is thrown into the deadly competition. Now, she'll need to survive the next 4 months of training at the castle if she wants a chance of finding Selah. But Meryn is bound to a feral direwolf who refuses to communicate. The other trainees would love to spill her common blood, and her gorgeous instructor, Stark Therian, is as malicious as the wolves themselves. Everyone is out to get her. Everyone but the dangerously handsome Crown Prince, Killian Valtier. But if she loses her heart to him, she may also lose her life, and the castle is hiding dark secrets. Dun, dun, dun.
So exciting.
That's a pretty spoilery summary for the back of a book.
Yes.
Especially now
That
that you've
gives
read the
away a
whole thing,
lot.
like
Yeah.
there's a lot there that's like
There's
really
a lot
obvious
in there.
Yeah. That's how you know that this thing's going to be full of plot twists and things you don't see coming, because if that is already told to you,
There's
Right?
a lot more coming.
I know.
Yep.
Lindsey, I think we should probably give everyone a reminder of our bookmark rating system. So why don't you spell it out for us?
Absolutely. So for us, a 5 bookmark book, it is God tier. You absolutely love it. You will read it over and over and over again. Recommend it to everybody. Would just give anything to be able to capture that feeling of reading it for the first time. And then there's a 4, which to me, a 4 is still a great book. I absolutely love this book. I would reread it eventually, but it's not that God tier type level for me. But it's still great. Excellent.
Pretty
vibes.
close.
Yeah.
Like still in your favorites of all time, probably.
Absolutely. There are a ton of books that are on my favorites list that I have only rated a 4.
Yep.
Which now that I think about it, might not be fair, but it is what it is.
Okay, so a 3 bookmark rating from Banter and Bookmarks means that you liked the book. It is a solid, good book. R3 is not just neutral. It is on the positive side. So you liked it, but maybe not enough to do a reread. You enjoyed it while you read it, love it, great, and then you move on to the next. A 2, now we're getting into, I wasn't really a fan of this book, and I will definitely not be touching it again.
And then a 1 is that we did not like it at all. And most likely we did not even finish it.
So everyone on the count of 3, hold up your bookmarks. But since we don't have bookmarks on our hands because we are human people, hold up your fingers of how many bookmarks you're going to rate this book.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 bookmarks all around.
Yes.
We love it. We will reread it. We all have now several times because we're podcasting about it, obviously.
Yeah.
If we've chosen a book that we're going to cover on the podcast, it is a solid 4 or 5. I can't imagine us
if we're going to deep
wanting
dive it
to
at
cover
least.
a 3. Yeah.
I could see us maybe doing like a 1 episode for a 3 because it was fun and we want to talk about it and it's like a thing that people are really talking about right now. But I don't think we are deep diving anything that's not 4 or 5. I agree with that. Let's do a deep dive about a 1, shall we?
No, because I didn't read it. As Lindsey has said multiple times, life is too short to read a book that you don't like.
Exactly. DNF
Amen.
queen. I DNF'd a book this week,
Ooh, we'll talk about that later. Not on the air. No, not
but
on the air.
I definitely did DNF a book. All right.
Ooh.
All right, let's dive in. Fair warning. Now we are entering the spoiler zone. If you do not want to hear any spoilers, stop watching. Come back later once you've read the book. Lindsey, can you tell us about the setting for Direbound?
Yes, but first, when you said that, I heard you are now entering the Twilight Zone. The two countries, Nocturna and Astriona, have been at war with each other for 500 years. Astriona is filled with siphons, which are, and this is a quote here, an ancient monstrous enemy. They steal our kids out of their beds and take them back across the border, turning them into living blood bags, feeding off of them, sucking out their powerful child life force, and eventually draining and killing them. So, vampires. They don't use the term vampires as often, but they are they say it at some point that they are vampires, but they are referred to as siphons.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm going to sound so Southern every time I say Sayla's name because I cannot help saying Sayla. And it sounds so Southern in my head, but I can't help it.
Sayla.
Sayla.
That was okay. Sayla.
Yeah, that was good.
Sayla.
Yeah.
So after Sayla is kidnapped, Maren decides that the only way to save her sister is to join the army. And that's where the story really begins. It leads into the discussion of the bonded, what that is, and the dire wolves. And the bonded are the privileged, the king's elite force of warriors who are bonded to the dire wolves. And the dire wolves have existed long before the history of the people in the area and are basically exactly what you're guessing, right? Ginormous, vicious wolves that have the power to bond with people, but they're sentient beings, right? They're not just like a dog. They can actually talk in your brain.
Yeah, and it's funny because I actually still have a pretty long list of questions that I have about the dire wolves themselves and about their history that even after a couple of reads now, I don't have those things answered, and I am aching for some of the answers about the dire wolves and like their background and their history.
I don't disagree with you. And that, I mean, even like their magic itself, I'm still very much unsure of.
Yeah, there's a lot of unanswered questions there, but it's unanswered in the way that it makes me really excited to go into book 2.
Definitely.
To get those answers and read them and go, oh, yeah, that's what I want.
That's why,
there. Yeah.
I love that.
And just wrapping up our little discussion of the setting, the book does come with a beautiful map. We get another wonderful map. We are only introduced to a few cities in the whole book, but we get a map. We know there's more to come.
And the map to me actually also was pretty spoilery after you read. It's not obvious spoilers when you look at it before you read, but after you read the book and you go back and look at it, you go,
huh?
Did you guys notice the juxtaposition of the words for Nocturna and Astriona, night and light, but the beings themselves that live there are opposite. We think about siphons, we think about nighttime, but those actually live in Astriona. And what's in Astriona? Spring and summer. What's in Nocturna? Fall, and most of it is winter. So it's opposites to what you would expect. And I liked that. I don't know why it is, right? But it definitely is.
Can't wait to find out why.
Can't wait to find out why. So, Kelly, why don't you get us started on our cast of characters?
Okay, let's get into it. So we'll start with the commoners. Maren Cooper, of course. She is our alley cat fighter. She bonds to Anasa, who is amazing. We'll talk more about her later. And she takes care of her mother and her younger sister, Sayla. So Sayla Cooper, Maren's younger sister, about 10-ish, we think. She looks a lot like her daddy, which comes up a few times. Maybe important, maybe not. Let's see. And pretty early on in the book, she is the one who is taken from her bed by the nabbers, which is a devastating scene. Then there's Mother Cooper, who is talked about as being mentally ill. It is important to note here that we never actually find out her name. So that's definitely something that we are going to dig into in later episodes because we think that's important. Then we have Father Cooper, who died in the war. Then we have Igor, Erin's neighbor, and the guy who trains her to be the badass street fighter that she is.
So our next big group of people to note here are the bonded. Before we get into people that are actually bonded, there are royals that live in the castle that is in the bonded city. But it is very important to note that the royals themselves are not bonded to direwolf. It's explained later that that is on purpose for a sense of balance in the kingdom, that the king and his family shouldn't hold that much specific power, but they are above the bonded on the food chain of people.
Yeah.
Okay. So the royals that we get introduced to are King Cyril. He does not care about the people at all. He's terrible. Everyone hates the king, especially the commoners, right? He has a sword that is called the Dyern Blade.
Dire
That's
Blad.
my Dyern Blade.
Dire Blade.
Dyern Blade. Dyern Blade. We're going to say the Dire Blade for all intents and purposes so we don't make ourselves sound like fools trying to pronounce that word.
The rest of this series.
Dyern Blade.
Dire Blad.
Dyern Blade. But this ancient sword holds the power over all of the wolves. Okay, so literally, when he's holding this blade, he can make all of the wolves do whatever he wants. Huge power. Okay. And then, also living in the royal city, we didn't talk about him in the commoner section, although in the beginning of the book, he is portrayed as a commoner, which is Marin's boyfriend, Lee. They've been dating for about a year when our story starts. But we find out pretty quickly in that he is actually the crown prince Killian in disguise, and he is King Cyril's son. Shocking moment.
Shenanigans.
Everyone, right?
Ugh.
Shenanigans.
All around.
So they are the royals that are above the bonded. So then we have the bonded, and the bonded, like we said earlier, are the king's elite force of warriors who are bonded to direwolves. So some important bonded members to point out here. We have Isabel and Venna, who are a set of twins that are from bonded families. So their parents are bonded as well. And they are in Marin's class of rawbounds with her. And then a couple of other rawbounds that end up being her friends are Henry, Neva. And then we have a few bonded that are not so friendly to Marin. People like Jonah and Perel would fall into that category.
All right, let's talk a little bit about another group that we have, the instructors. So these are the instructors of the Rawbound class, and we've got some good ones here. So first we have Leader Aldrich. He is the head of Rawbound training altogether. We have Alpha Stark Therian of Deimos, which is the fighting pack. We definitely want to point out here that he is really the other MMC in the love triangle that starts a little bit later on in the book. Stark is going to be very important to us in our discussions. Kratos is his wolf and the mate to Anasa. Also super important. Can't wait to go there. We have Beta Egith Hartsfield of Strategos. That is the battle strategy pack. We have Samson White, the Gamma of Kryptos, which is the pack that focuses on communication and concealment. And then we have Elenot Gardner, the Gamma of Phylax, the history and pack dynamics specialty pack.
The Hufflepuffs.
The Hufflepuffs. Exactly. Exactly.
Like
Which
everybody
is so
else has
sad.
like such a clear designation. I remember reading that one for the first time being like, what do they do?
I know,
Yeah,
I know.
They're the Guardian.
Yeah, and actually
The
that's
Guardians.
they are the
They
Guardians.
stay neutral.
But like, what does that even mean?
I know. I can't wait to I feel like it's going to come up so much more in the second book. But that's actually a good
Hufflepuff.
point, Katharine, and as a Hufflepuff, I approve. But Katharine, why don't you actually take us through a little bit more depth of the different packs and what we learn about them?
Yeah, so we talked a lot about the human characters, but the wolves actually kind of run the show. They control the school, they control who gets bonded, they control these trials that they're all going through. Everything ends at the wolves. And they can talk in your brain. Can they talk, though, to others, or can they only talk to their bonded?
Well, they can talk to their own mate, which is
Yes,
why
yes,
it is
yep,
special when they mate outside of
yep.
their own pack. So that way there's communication between packs. And then Anasa, once they are named Alpha, she can speak to all of the wolves.
Yes.
That's
And I
That's
believe
can
all the
communicate that way.
humans too, right?
I feel
Can't
like
she
it would
speak
have
into
to
the mind
once
of
you
the
became.
humans too?
I
think
think
she
you're
can,
right.
like,
I think
project,
the
like-
alphas, right?
Yes.
Because I'm pretty sure there's a moment where she's like, everybody shut the fuck up and listen.
Yes.
And
Yes, you're
Marin's
right.
like, oh, we can do that now.
Yes.
Yeah, because
Okay.
it goes to the bond of your direwolf, and so you immediately get it. It's almost like like a PA broadcast is the way that I think about it.
And this is really important because pack dynamics are something that I feel like it's almost part of their curriculum. You have to study up and understand all of these dynamics. Like we kept giving those like titles, alpha, beta, gamma. Those are literally the titles they give in their ranking system for the different packs. And it includes both the rider themselves and their bonded wolf. So we have the 4 packs. We have Strategos, the leaders, the masters of strategy, the battlefield commanders. Most of those wolves are going to be silver in coloring. And the funny thing is every time somebody bonds to a wolf, a piece of their hair takes on a new color. So in this pack, all of the wolves have a gray or silver coloring, and the bonded that bonds to one of the wolves in this pack, they get a piece of hair color that is silver. But what's interesting is Marin, her entire hair goes from this color to stark silver instantly. She matches perfectly to Anasa after she has bonded to her. And she's the only one that gets that.
Yeah, and it's such a special moment because it happens pretty quickly into the book, and it just points out how special Marin is, where you just think that your main character is special because she's bonded to a direwolf, but your main character is special for other reasons. And it's that first kind of glimpse of it that really, I feel like, kind of sets the tone for her importance throughout the book.
Yeah.
And I love how everybody kind of just glossed over it. Like they noticed it, but
Like, that's
nobody
weird.
had like any thought. Maybe we should dig into why her
Yeah.
entire head is white.
Well, I don't know. I kind of got that the instructors and the people who knew things kind of were, maybe not scared, but I feel like they noticed it in a way that was like, oh, versus everyone, the raw bounds who were like, oh, that's weird because maybe they just didn't
You're
know any
right.
better. But I got a little bit of a different reaction from them. But I was like, I don't get it. Why is all of her hair silver? Yeah, she's special. But I was like, what is it? What's going on? Didn't get
And
it.
who
at
knows,
first.
maybe in the background, the instructors are doing a ton of research
That's
and we
true.
just don't see it
Right.
because it's from Marin's point of view, I guess.
That's true.
That's true. So then we have Kryptos. These are the spies. They specialize in stealth and intelligence gathering. Their wolves are gray in coloring and but the weird thing about this one, the bonded are blue. They get a blue streak in their head. Then we have Deimos. They are the warriors. They're known for their brutality and prowess in battle. Their wolves are black and the bonded get a red streak in their hair. And then Phylax, I'm going to forever think of them now as the Hufflepuff. Cannot help
Or the
it.
Phalanx. Or the
Oh,
Phalanx.
Don't go there.
Don't go there. They are the guardians. They're focused on defense and protection. They're almost described as being the neutral. We're going to support everybody and not ever choose sides. They pretty much float between any rival packs, or at least that's the impression I got from them. And their wolves are like brown coloring, and those bonded have a tawny streak in their hair. But I think the weirder thing that I just didn't get a sense of as of the end of the book was the magic that the writers are getting through their wolves. I understand that the magic of the packs is based upon, the strategos, the leaders, their magic is like that. The Deimos, their warriors, they have strength, but I didn't get a really good sense of the magic itself. I don't know if you guys kind of felt
Like what it actually means in practice.
yeah, exactly.
I kind of got the impression that it wasn't necessarily about the magic of those things, but that the wolves chose their riders because their riders would mentally support that in their pack.
I like that.
So, like, Anasa is only going to choose Marin because she is a strategic thinker. Kratos is only going to choose Stark because he's a warrior, right? Like they
Okay.
can feel their riders' personalities and their riders' strengths, and they pick them for that. And that's how the packs are formed.
Skills.
Don't disagree with that. But then there was this one scene, and I think this is kind of what led to my confusion, is this one scene where Stark is literally using like a force against Jonah, like a physical wind force as his magic. And so it was just like touched on very briefly, you know, and they don't go into the details of this. Like, I can produce fire out of my hands. That is very specific, clear, magical power. For these, it was murky.
And you're making me remember too that they mention they have to do, once they bond and once their things start to show, they have to do classes and they have to get training to be able to use their pack magic or their pack's power. And so, I'm wondering if we're just focusing on the thing that we need to get really good at, or if there's a specific type of magic or power that they all have. But I agree, Katharine. I don't think that if it does exist that way, I don't think that we got the exact answer here.
Yeah.
But
and
it
seems strange to me. She's in a school and that's not like a main part of the curriculum.
Yeah.
That just was so glossed over to me, that like the crux of the magic, that I was just kind of left a little bit confused by it.
Yeah. I wonder if we'll get more.
I'll be honest, I don't think I picked up on all of that their magic was actual power in that way.
Yeah, only because they mentioned our pack magic. Like I want to go find the actual words.
Yeah, to me that like pack power was working together and strategizing together and making our minds work together. It wasn't necessarily about like a
force.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm curious because I definitely got a sense that there wasn't like an actual magic or a combined power, our powers combined kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see.
Yeah. So just a lot of unanswered questions about the direwolves. I have my own kind of list of things, like how old is Anasa? Did the wolves die when their humans die of old age? Do they only have one rider? I know that if one is killed like in battle, the other one will die, but it's Anasa is depicted as very old and ancient. So is Marin her first rider then? Like there's a lot of unanswered questions about the direwolves that I just can't wait to dig into.
Those are good questions because I didn't think about that at all. And honestly, I think I just assumed that she was like waiting around, that Anasa was waiting around.
They mentioned that she's hundreds of years old,
but they don't say if she's had another rider.
Right. That's true.
No. What I'm saying though is like, if she is hundreds of years old, and to your point, like if you bond, then when your bonded dies, you die. Like the direwolves are almost like cutting off their lives, right? Once they find
a lot of questions.
Rider.
Right. So many questions. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I made assumptions. They only bond to one rider and that's it. But I have no reason to think that. I just made an assumption.
Well, here's the reason why. Because I really do love this book and enjoy it. But my one problem with it is that it is extremely derivative of other popular books.
Okay.
So all of our questions about bonding with direwolves come from another popular series in which humans bond with magical creatures. And it is very extensively talked about, the history and why, and a lot of those questions are answered over and over and over again. We get big, deep information. And so I think that we are looking for that information in this book because of its connection to that series.
That's true. It's like we love those creatures so much, and the bond that they have, and the personalities that they have so much, that we almost
And we get
want
so
that.
much information.
We do. That's true. That's a good
Right?
point. That's a good point.
And I also think it's the simple fact that we're very inquisitive. Like when we're introduced to like a magical system, we really want to know the ins and outs of that magical system. So to be left without that, I think for all three of us is like, no, I need these answers. I need the anthology. I need to like, do you have a book I can read about here are direwolves?
Yeah, do you want me to write it?
To direwolf.
Right. That's so true.
Yeah, and Sable Sorensen is a pen name. It is two women that are friends that wrote this book together. It is their debut novel. So maybe it's just debut novel type hurdles. Like, this is going to be me, meaning Sable Sorensen in October, being like, hey, girl, so can I ask you some questions? Because I got some questions for you. And she's going to be, because I think we're only meeting one of them.
Yeah.
She's going to be so thrown off to be like, oh my God, I don't think I realized that my fandom would get this crazy.
Yeah. That up close.
It's true.
Or she's like, I actually have thought through that. Like, give me a second. But also,
yeah, maybe it's
don't
purposeful.
get too crazy. Calm down. Like, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I hope she's ready for us.
And I think it's
in
also
the best
just
way possible. Like,
yeah,
we love you.
And I guess it also is kind of realistic to think that a character who she didn't grow up in the bonded city, she grew up as a commoner, right? It would literally be information overload if you literally have 4 months to learn the ins and outs of a complete society and magical system that you had no exposure to anyway. It does also make a little bit of sense that there's going to be a lot of glossing over in 4 months when you're basically just trying to stay alive and not get eaten by a dire wolf.
Right.
I don't know. If I lived in a city and there were people that were bonded to ginormous fucking wolves living around me, I would have a lot of questions, but I'm an inquisitive motherfucker.
Yeah, we know where Lindsey would be. She would be in the library.
Yeah.
She would not be battling on the field. She'd be on the library reading all the books.
Meanwhile, I'd be like, what do I need to learn to stay alive? Like,
tell
me about your
wolf.
history later. Yeah, no.
And
I'd be like, oh, this is mine. Cool. How do I stay alive?
What's your mother? How old are you? Could you tell me your lineage? Come on, I'm crafting a family tree. Just hold on here.
That's so
There's
funny.
a reason why I'm the one sitting here with a notebook and a pen as we record, okay?
And I'm like,
the
pretzels.
Yeah. And then going into one of my favorite topics when it comes to fantasy literature, and that is religions in fantasy
so
literature.
Excited when this came up. I was like, Lindsey's gonna
love
eat this up.
I don't know why I get so excited talking about religions and what authors have made up to be of high importance in their worlds. I think it is absolutely fascinating. So we don't get a ton of religious talk in this book, but we get a very important character who is a religious figure, and that is the Faceless Goddess. So we're first introduced to the Faceless Goddess by Marin, and most people just kind of think, oh, thank the goddess for that, or goddess be damned, or something like that. Like, they kind of use it as a slur almost. And then eventually we see a statue of the Faceless Goddess. So there's a couple important things here, because I think as we read, it's important to, even though we don't find this information out until later into the book, I do kind of want to go over some of the stuff here. So as we're deep diving and as we're reading it, we have it in the back of our minds. Okay. So they do eventually come across a statue of the Faceless Goddess, and Marin feels an actual draw to the statue when they come across it in the city of Linsfell. And it's interesting here that Anasa approves of that feeling. So as ancient and as all-knowing as our direwolves are, she approves of Marin's reaction to the Faceless Goddess. Super important, right?
And she makes Stark stop and like give her this moment. She is allowed this moment.
Stark calls it commoner nonsense, which is super interesting. So it's really a commoner type religion. The bonded don't have that. And let's be honest, if you were a bonded elite soldier literally bonded to the most powerful creature in the world, would you have a lot of gods and goddesses in your life? Like, you kind of are pretty dang powerful.
Yeah.
But the hard part about that is the bonded, at least in Marin's eyes in the beginning, are always seen as kind of, what's the word I'm searching for? They're like above it all. They don't really care. They don't care about the common people.
They
They
almost have a
live these
god
like
complex
opulent lives.
themselves.
Exactly. They
Yes.
have a god
They
complex.
feel
And so
untouchable.
yeah, it makes sense that they don't worship anything because they worship themselves in a
Right.
way.
Right.
And they worship their connections to their wolves in a way.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's so interesting. I have a little bit of a theory about the faceless goddess, but I don't want to talk about it yet. So I think we'll
Yeah.
come back to it. But
I have
this
thoughts too.
character is, I love that they added her in here.
Yeah. So, quote, let's describe her. She looks almost alive. And this is describing her statue, by the way. So she looks almost alive despite the signs of centuries past that mark the alabaster stone. She bends in a pose of maternal caring, her hands held out as if in offering. Though her face is smooth and featureless, worn down and unidentifiable from years of pilgrims touching it, her posture suggests both power and grace. And then
She's
let's
Miss
go on.
United States.
Yeah,
She
she's
is Miss
power
United
and she's
States.
grace. That's amazing.
Sorry, could not
That's-
just end
Well,
that
now-
sentence
That's
any other
amazing.
way.
Now I can
Now,
only see what's her name.
Yep, that's all she's going to be now. Great. Thanks for that, Katharine. So, another quote from Marin: people think the faceless goddess made humans, that she's the one who gave us life. They believe if they pray to her hard enough that she'll right the imbalance in our kingdom and make life better for the commoners again. So, of course, it makes sense that this is a commoner nonsense, as Stark calls it, right? And then, even more quote here: for most commoners, the king is closer to a deity than the goddess, and she's still invoked in prayer or as a curse. There are small religious sects around the country devoted to her, their members numbering in the thousands. We have a tiny temple devoted to her in Sturmfrost, but I've never been there. This statue is known around all of Nocturna, though. I had no idea that seeing it in person would evoke such a strong, potent feeling in me. So again, super important. As we're reading and as we're deep diving, she will continue to come up, and there's a lot to think about there. And I know eventually we will all talk about our theories about the faceless goddess for sure.
So we're not going to talk about it now.
No, let's
Save
save it.
Save it for the deep dive.
So I'm going to call her the faceless goddess.
Oh, Katharine.
That was sneaky.
Sneaky. I'm going to call her the faceless Miss Congeniality. What's her name? What is the actress's name?
Sandra Bullock.
Thank you.
Freebush.
Thank
Grace
you.
Seelig Freebush.
No, literally now I see Sandra Bullock as the faceless goddess statue. So thank you for that.
So the only other things we probably want to touch on are we have these things called siphons. Like Lindsey said, they do describe them as vampires. That word does exist in the books, but they're not necessarily vampires like we read in other stories, right? I don't necessarily get the impression, but maybe you guys tell me if I'm wrong here. Are they truly immortal? Like, or do they just have
I don't
really
know.
extended lives?
Well,
because they're fighting their immortal foes, and that's the siphons are the ones who live there. So I think they're supposed to be immortal, aren't they?
and I think they can live on in other people.
Yes, they sure can.
That is well, one can. One for sure can.
Yeah.
They're not
Yeah,
immortal.
they do. She does say
No.
she does say immortal
Let me-
foes though.
Hold on, let me say. So all of us except the siphons, they're not immortal, he says. They might live for thousands of years, but they can die just like the rest of us, you'll see. So they're not, I thought I had this inkling in my head from reading something that said they
So
weren't.
who is
truly
the immortal foe then?
I think that's
I think
just
it's Marin.
colloquially.
Yeah,
You know?
and think about it, Marin like doesn't really have a lot of information in the book in the beginning. So I think the quote about them being immortal, their immortal foes, are her just lack of knowledge in general.
And to them, they're immortal because they outlast them. Okay.
Right.
Exactly.
Hmm.
They have some kind of blood magic We do touch on what that is specifically later in the book. We see a very, very big example of what that blood magic can do.
Very, very big. I don't know why I just thought of it's very, very big and very, very important. Anyway, despicable me. Okay, keep going.
Sorry, I need a moment.
That's fine. It's going to be very, very big.
You just zoomed in so much.
Boogie robots, not cookie robots.
Why would I
Why
need
are you
these?
so old?
Why are you so old? Dart gun, not fart gun.
So going back to the siphons, they are very, very strong and they have to be beheaded to be killed. But the ins and outs of them, I don't think we get a ton in this book. Definitely we'll get in future books, but it's really only slightly introduced to us in this book, I would say. And then we have the nabbers, the very, very mysterious nabbers. And for most of the book, we think the nabbers are siphons or humans working for siphons. But then we find out that nabbers are only in the commoner parts of Sturmfrost. They're nowhere else in the kingdom, not even near Astriona, are there any nabbers. And I don't know how you guys feel, but I very much questioned the fact that she was not questioning this more. Like, girl, there's only in your city.
Yeah, when
Maybe
she
you
found
should
out,
look
I was
into this
like,
a bit more.
Whoa, yeah, that was rough.
So I do have a question for you guys. We've gone through a huge cast of characters, creatures, what have you. Let's talk about our three main characters that are not direwolves for a second. Let's talk about our female main character and our two male main characters. So what is everybody's impression of Marin? And I'll go first.
Okay.
She initially drew me very much to this book, sucked me in from the beginning. She had this really strong street personality with her. And I did have a bit of a critique with her, I guess, her progression in the book. I saw her as this really high character at the beginning, and then she becomes very, very low, and almost as if the authors made her a weak character so she could learn and be strong again at the end. And I did not personally like that direction of her character. I think it's fine for a female main character to be strong and stay strong. She doesn't have to be weak to show that she can be strong again. And so I just didn't particularly like the direction her character took towards the book. She figures it out towards the end. She arrives at a better position for me towards the end. But I didn't like how she didn't question enough things personally and how she seemed to go a little bit weak for me before
That's
she kind of
interesting.
rised again. And I wanted to know what you guys kind of thought of her progression through the book.
Yeah, I kind of agree, but have a slightly different take on it. I think that she also got weak, but I think that that weakness is intentional because it is there to point out Killian's faults and the fact that, like, from day one, I did not care for Killian.
Agree.
And I think that she was so in love with him that, and like so blinded by her feelings that she didn't look past it. And so, as much as I hate that a female character's worth is tied to a male, I do think that that was implemented here, not in a bad way, but in a way of like love can kind of lose us sometime and make us lose course. She didn't go in a negative way for me because at the end of the day, everything that she did was for her sister. And I really appreciate her continuing that. But I think that her downfall moments for me were all attached to Killian. And that almost makes it explainable in my head, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I have a different opinion of Marin, but I have similar feelings about what you just said, Lindsey, with Killian. Oh, she did not go down for me at all. I never saw her. I never was like, oh, she's like a weak character now at all, because I felt like she's a strong, badass character who is now in a brand new situation of people and magic and power that she literally has never been around and is just like, you're an A+ college athlete and you make it to the pros. Like, yeah, maybe your first year isn't going to be the greatest. Doesn't mean that you're not any less kick-ass and that you're not like a great, you know what I mean? So like, to me, I was like, she's just in a whole new league now. And so she needs to learn more. And I would have been annoyed if she got into this new situation and was just making all the right decisions. I would have been like, this is so unrealistic. Like, she's going to fall. She's going to make bad choices because she's being thrown into this world that she never thought she would have to be in. And I never got negative for her. I got like, oh, she's awesome, but she's going through a struggle. But
Figuring it out.
She's figuring it out.
Yeah.
But I do think that the bad decisions that she made were because of Lee/Killian, and it made me hate him more for it, because I think that if she had any like weak points of her personality or of her character, or just like her own weakness, which is like a normal thing, I think that she just trusted him too much because he made her trust. Like, why wouldn't you trust the guy that you've been with for over a year? You know what I mean? Like, even the most badass people can fall into those things for someone who is out to get you from the beginning. And so I hated him more for it. She never got negative to me. Is she my favorite female main character of all time? No, but I liked her. I still felt like she had strength. I do agree that I liked that everything that she did was for her sister. I like that she wasn't, an 18-year-old too. That helps. But I didn't. So I liked Lee at the beginning. The second that we found out about.
Let's talk about Lee. Because
Yes.
I remember you talking about how you had different impressions than what we had about him.
I liked Lee. The second we found out that Lee was Killian and they had their first intimate scene, I was like, immediately no. People like online were like, oh, it's a kink thing. No, it wasn't. It was absolutely not. Like, and I like dark romance and I can read some spicy stuff. That was not just kink. That was I read it as abusive, and I read it as like very uncomfortable, intimate behavior. And so the second that we had that first exchange, I was like, oh, something's up with Killian. I do not trust him. But for whatever reason, I didn't get it when it was Lee. I loved the nickname Kitten. I was like, oh my God, Kitten. By the end of the book, I wanted to vomit.
So
I
it's
thought it was so
interesting.
cute.
It's interesting that you say this, because I think that probably is what surrounds my negativity with her, is because from the very beginning and the second he said kitten to her, I absolutely hated him. I didn't trust him from the beginning. So actually, I glossed over every intimate scene because every single one to me from the beginning, because I knew he couldn't be trusted, was so cringe to me.
Yeah.
I literally couldn't read them because I was like, I literally see her as completely desperate for this master manipulator. And it infuriates me to where it doesn't matter what they're doing. I'm completely turned off because I know who he is. And the fact, and what I probably just could not get over is the fact that you were with somebody who lied and who never, ever once apologized for the lie. He never owned up to the fact that he said, I apologize. I lied. He never did that. So the fact that she kind of forgave him for keeping that as a secret, like, I knew there was something more there that he was going to continue to manipulate, because anybody who was genuine, who had a real reason to keep that kind of secret, once it came out, would have owned up to the hurt
done more.
that causes that other person. And so the fact that he didn't, I hated him, continued to hate him, and could not stand behind her behavior because of it. And I mean, he was a master manipulator of
100%,
her the whole
100%.
book. And it's totally believable for her to be that way. But I think that's probably why my negative connotations kind of just couldn't get there. Like, I couldn't get over it until the very end, is just because of the tie those two characters had to each other. And I hated it so much, his manipulations.
Yeah, I get that.
Katharine, did you hate Kitten because you felt like he was devaluing her alley cat status?
100%.
Yeah.
She is
Whereas
this
Kelly thought it was like a
person.
cute.
I thought it was cute. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
she's not a
Such an
kitten. She's your motherfucking lioness. That's what you should call her.
Yeah.
Such an interesting, like, double-edged sword, though, how one nickname can be so dividing.
Yeah.
And both of you can easily make excellent arguments
Yeah.
about either side of
Right.
it, you know?
Right. And because the fact that if you didn't trust him from the beginning, that makes so much sense to me of like, oh, hating that nickname. To me, because I trusted Lee while he was Lee, I I saw him in my head as supporting her, knows she's badass, at her fights, helping her after. And so to me, the kitten thing was a cute little thing that they had together, because in my head I was like, oh, but he's supportive. He gets it. Like, he is there with her, because I didn't see manipulation. Once I saw now he's Killian, then I'm very curious about, like, I'm going to be doing a reread as we go through this recording. And I'm curious how that's going to change, if now that I know what he did, if that's going to change for me. But I was like, oh, he supports her, so I'm okay with it. You know what I mean?
So are you saying the nickname bothered you after you knew he was the prince?
Yes.
Like, then
Oh,
you didn't
yes.
like it anymore?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
like, oh, that ruined Kitten for me. But
See-
at the beginning, I texted Lindsey. I was like, oh my God, we have a new great nickname and I'm obsessed with it. But it was before I knew he was Killian.
And Lindsey, weren't you saying, I think you were with me. You don't like the nickname Kitten either, do you?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I kind of was with you, but I also did not trust him from day one. I think it would have been an okay nickname if I liked the character,
Yeah.
but I really got a bad sense about him from the beginning, which when we get into our deep dives, I do have a lot of questions about his motivations in helping her. There's a lot, I feel like, psychologically to unpack there as
Yeah.
we go. But yeah, I was not a fan of his from day one. And
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I read too many books of this type, but as soon as Stark got introduced, I was like, well, there he is. We
Yep.
know
Yeah.
how this is going to go.
Oh, yeah.
And from then on, all I could think, anytime he was doing something to push her, all I could think was, why can't you see that? Like, why can't you see that he's
Yeah.
trying to protect you, that he's trying to push you, that he's trying to make you better and make you rise above? It really annoyed me about her character that she couldn't see that. But again, I feel like a lot of the reasons that she couldn't see that was because she was blinded by her love for Killian.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yes.
it does explain away a lot of her motivations. And again, I don't necessarily fault her for it. I think that we can all be blinded by love. And I think that that's kind of what happened.
Yeah.
Her. I mean, she is young. Yeah, she's not 18, but she's still young.
Yeah. Yeah. Early 20s. Yeah.
You know?
Okay, so then let's talk about Stark. Because, I mean, obviously we were all like, okay, well, we
There
know
he
who she's
is.
with, but
Yeah.
that's him. He's the end game here,
Right.
right? Like, there was no question about it. The only thing that annoyed me, I think, was the most is that he grunted for over half of the book. That was his entire personality, was so many grunts and scowls. And I felt like when he finally starts talking to her a ton, like interacting with her, it was so rushed to me. Like, we would spend so much time with Killian, and then all of our interactions with Stark were so rushed. And I was like, I'm not liking
Yeah,
this
I didn't
balance.
feel that way at all.
Me neither.
I wanted more of him.
I didn't feel it at all. I thought he was just portraying him as kind of the dark, broody type. But then upon rereads and after learning who he is cursed that he can't talk to her. And
Right.
so a lot of those like
Yes.
grunty kind of moments to me were him physically being
Trying.
held back and
Yes.
trying. And so if you look at them on a reread,
Think about him like choking his words back.
Yes.
yeah, like there's just so much he wants to say and so much he can get out, and he's literally can't. But then also, not even the things that he literally can't talk about. He is your instructor. He can't talk about how he thinks you're sexy as hell. He
Right.
can't talk. You know,
Who
I just
says-
kind of.
I don't know that written in the bylaws of their little school.
That's true. We don't specifically find
That's
out
true.
about
Lindsay,
instructors
go to
and
the
students
library, get the book,
not being
tell us
able
what
to
the
date.
rules are.
But you know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
kind of saw it as his way of like just holding back, because I read him especially now, and I think we're going to see it going into book 2. He is touch her and die.
Oh,
I'm going to
yeah.
give you
1000%.
all of me. And I think he wanted to from the beginning. I think he saw her as not only the queen that she's going to be able to come, but kind of a badass in the sense that she's a fighter. She came from nothing.
Yeah.
She stepped into this world. She kind of made her own way in it pretty quickly. And I think he really appreciated that about her.
And I noticed from the very, very beginning that because of his family, that his family is the support to the crown, I immediately picked up on what his role would be. I knew what the crown meant. It wasn't, she did not know, right? Marin didn't know when this was stated, but as the reader, I was like, okay, he is going to support her in the future. So I also just liked that he's a very, very, he's alpha Stark. He's a very manly man. He is the most manly of the manly men, right? Like, he's all grit and grunts.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And I love the fact, though, that his character being set up to be the support for the royal. I also like that he will be taking on that type of role as well.
So let's talk about tropes in this book, because I know Katharine has a lot of thoughts about this, because pretty much every possible trope that you can put in a fantasy or romantasy novel is in here. Some of them are kind of funny,
Yes.
but I know Katharine has
I literally
thoughts.
had the list. Literally had the list. Kelly, you want to read off the list?
Yes. Okay. So in Direbound, we love it, but we've got love triangle. We've got slow burn for half of the love triangle. We've got fantasy, strong female, wolves, touch her and die, one bed, hidden identity, illegitimate rulers, memory trope, and who did this to you?
Who did this to you?
And probably more.
More.
Definitely more.
It's
that's
a
lot of
trope
tropes.
after trope.
Enemies to lovers.
And
Enemies
to lover.
added to the list.
Oh my God.
There's so many
multiple hidden
now,
identities too. Not even just one hidden identity.
Yes.
It's multiple.
That's true. Now, I do think one of my favorite moments in this book was the one bed trope, because she set it up and then ignored it.
Yep.
Yes.
And she's like, oh, we're not going to go there. So funny.
I thought it was hilarious when I was reading.
Glad. I laughed. I was like, that's hysterical.
So...
And I was upset. I was like, oh, really? They're not going to. Meanwhile, like, it's a one bed trope. Oh, here it comes. And then when that didn't happen, I was like, oh, bummer.
I'm so glad you guys read it that exact same way.
It was very funny. It was very funny.
Like, she was almost poking fun at the fact that a lot of these books that we read in this genre kind of do the same thing. And given how derivative this book is in a lot of its, like, you know, a lot of its setup and a lot of its plot lines and things like that, I thought it was absolutely genius. I loved that moment.
Yeah.
So
it was fun. It was fun.
So the other thing I kind of noticed in this book was because we've just gone off of a major deep dive on another series where names have meanings. So now I will apply that to every book I read forever. And I noticed that a ton of names in this book all have Greek origin. And so, because Marin bonded to a direwolf named Anassa, which is Greek for queen, I immediately knew at the beginning of this book, oh, okay, so she's going to be the queen. That was easy. I felt like that was spoiler spelled out completely by the fact that she bonded to a direwolf that's name means queen. And I know that you guys probably were like, Anassa, let me look up that name, because I mean, we're all doing the exact same thing. We're all like, does this name have some kind of meaning I need to look into right now?
But I feel like we're crazy. I don't know.
We're one of those people.
Every reader does that.
No, I'll be honest. I didn't look up name meanings in this book because I didn't want spoilers until after I read through it the first time. Because we had just come off of our last series, I was like, because she didn't say names have meaning specifically, I was like, let me read it. Let me experience it as a reader for the first time. So I was shooketh when she became alpha and when we found out about the queen situation. I knew there was something with the mom, and we'll talk about that when we get into it. But those are two things that I thought that she was going to be alpha eventually, but the fact that she became alpha so soon, I was not expecting it. And I'm glad that I didn't look up the words because of that reason.
Yeah.
Now that you're saying it, I'm kind of like, I probably would have had that Kelly Joy at each of those
Yes,
milestones.
I just wanted
had
to
I not
experience
looked up
it.
the wolf's name at
Don't
the
do it.
beginning and I
Don't
saw
do
it
it.
meant queen and I was like, oh, okay, so she's the future queen. Like, that's okay. So when I
Yes.
got there, I was like, yep.
Yeah. Versus
Yep.
imagine a reader who's not us because they're not insane, who doesn't look up all the words and who reads it and then finds out later or listens to our podcast and is like, oh my God, the wolf's name means queen. Like, like that is the fun of reading books and specifically fantasy and sci-fi books that I love so much. And so I was like, let me take a step back and not try to guess the ending. Let me have fun with this one. And I'm glad I did because I had so much fun reading this book. And that's why I think it was a 4-star for me, even though, yes, there are a lot of elements that are derivative, but I still had so much freaking fun and I'm going to
It's a
reread it a
vibe.
million times.
It is. We
Yeah,
all
this book is a
like
vibe.
those
Yeah.
elements. We
It's
love
fun
all of
writing.
those.
Yes. And it was put together in a great way. Like you can have
Oh, yeah.
all those things and be derivative and have all the tropes and be awful. This is not that.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's what we're all saying is like, we recognize all of that is in there as a story.
don't care.
We don't mind
Don't
that
care.
it is in there. We really liked it. We enjoyed it. There's a reason we read books like this.
There are
like those
times
books.
to read the deep, gorgeous literature, incredible writing, like make you think and you can't read it fast because it's dense books. And we love those books. And then there are times to read things like Direbound that's more than just a quick, easy beach read. Like you have to think and there are connections, but it is what it is and it's great at what it is.
This book to me is I feel like I have the perfect analogy in literature. Okay. You both have heard it 1,000 times, but this is the perfect book to explain this analogy for me. Okay. I know that there is a difference between eating at a 5-star restaurant and the quality of food I'm going to get there and the quality of service that I'm going to have at that restaurant, the experience in general, right? I get that, but I don't crave anything other than Chick-fil-A sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay. This book is Chick-fil-A.
In a great way.
In the best possible way.
Yes.
Do I know that it is not perfect literature? Absolutely. But do I crave the crap out of those nuggets? Sure do.
Absolutely.
Sure do.
I love it. It's so true. It really is so true.
A great book does not have to be perfect literature.
Yes.
It has to be enjoyable for me.
And make
That's
you
what
feel
makes a great
things
book.
and make you laugh and make you excited and make you want to stay up late past your bedtime to read while your husband says, turn off the frickin' light.
Exactly.
And you say, no.
Yeah.
Bound. Love it.
And I think there is
bedazzled
something
it.
to be
It's
said.
so good.
I love that. I think there's something to be said about the fact that we have such a visceral reaction and are mad at these characters because we're so invested in it. Like, I'm mad at you, girl, for letting yourself get manipulated, but I also want to watch you chop off his head. I'm going to be there for your journey and your retribution. I got your back.
Yes.
100%.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But we might not know. I mean, we still have multiple books. So
yeah, there could be some magical things going on. Oh, all right. Well, before we wrap up, one thing I did want to mention, which is very exciting news. So when we first read Direbound and decided to cover it, it was kind of just like an internet sensation. It was indie published. When I ordered Direbound, I actually got it for my birthday. It had to be printed on demand. Like the date in the back of my book is my birthday because it's the day that I love that about it.
Yeah. And mine's date stamped when it was printed.
Date stamped. And I'm like, that's my birthday. And love that. And then in between us saying, hey, we should talk about Direbound, and now it was picked up to be trad published, which is incredible. So excited for Sable Sorensen there. absolutely believe this book deserves that and more. So originally, the second book called Fury Bound was supposed to actually come out next month. But because now it's being picked up, they're doing some work like publishers always do with any indie series that gets picked up. And so I was just looking on Sable Sorensen's socials, and today they made a reminder that it is now coming out in March of next year. So we have a little bit of time to wait, but not too much time. So just a reminder for everyone out there that it's going to be a little bit later.
I remember being halfway through it and thinking, oh, I'm going to finish this one. Then it's going to come out in July. And then the third book was at that time slated for November.
Yes.
And I was so excited. I was like, we're going to get fully immersed in this entire world within 1 year. Hallelujah. And I text Kelly and I'm like, Kelly, I thought this book was supposed to, like, the second one was coming out in July.
know.
What happened? And
She was
she's
so
like,
mad at
oh,
me.
did you know?
Yeah, because it happened with Quicksilver. The same exact thing. We picked it up as indie. We read it. We fell in love with it, and we were like, yes. And it got trad published, which deserves it. But now we have to wait longer. And then now Direbound. So maybe we just, I don't know.
Or maybe Lindsey should stop treating her original indie published books, stop highlighting in them
Yeah.
and gluing rhinestones to them, because I have a whole
No.
collection of original
No, absolutely not.
No.
indie bound published books that are worth bupkis because
That's
I
okay.
glued
Personalizing.
rhinestones to the
That's
outside
okay.
of them.
Listen, that's okay. I'm hoping that it's just we have the magic touch. That would make me very happy if like every indie book that we fall in love with and want to read and talk about on our podcast just like gets picked up and trad published. That would make me happy.
Hopefully
for our
the
indie
next
authors.
one that we're covering does that.
Ooh, we're gonna announce that very soon. So
Cannot wait. Cannot.
if you know, you know, and the author knows. Oh my God. Hey.
Hey.
Hey, we actually
Hey, friend. You're
got a
actually
text from
texting us
them
right now.
Was that why our phone buzzed?
Yes,
That's funny.
she's texting us. Can't wait to talk about that.
Well, that is a wrap on our world building episode of Direbound. Thank you guys so much for joining us for book club this week. Next time, we will be covering chapters 1 through 15. So as a reminder, we're going to have larger chunks of chapters covered in each of our episodes. We're only going to do 5 with this series. So check our socials for updates for when those episodes will drop. So join us for our next Fantasy Friday and happy reading.
Bye.
Bye.